I am Dr. Brian Remy, the Senior Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in the School of Medicine at Uniformed Services University. I'm very pleased to welcome all of you to the School of Medicine's inaugural Distinguished Alumni Recognition Ceremony. This new program recognizes outstanding graduates of both the School of Medicine and the graduate programs at the Uniformed Services University. The idea was conceived by senior leaders within the School of Medicine to recognize these graduates who, by their contributions to our nation, represent compelling role models for all current USU students. They have each had a profound impact on military medicine and public health as groundbreaking researchers, innovators, inspiring educators, and battlefield clinicians. I'd now like to introduce Interim School of Medicine Dean, Dr. Luis Pangaro.
Jeff, I'm trying to start my video. It will not start. Said you've blocked it. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Remy. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. 13 USU alumni have been selected for recognition today. Following a rigorous nomination and review process by a committee led by USU President Emeritus Dr. Charles Rice, there are 19 physicians, MD, 2 doctors of philosophy, 1 doctor of public health, and 1 Master of Public Health graduate, which we'll be recognizing today. So please join me in recognizing the following alumni as we pay tribute to their outstanding careers and their contributions to our nation. Navy Captain Paulette Cazares, MD, class of 2004. Captain Paulette Cazares is a Navy psychiatrist who piloted the first Department of Defense Women's Health Mental Program. She serves on the Executive Board of Directors of the American Medical Women's Association as the secretary, and she herself led the creation of its recently established Active Duty and Veterans Chapter. Dr. Cazares was selected as the Military Health System's Navy Senior Female Physician of the Year, and she was recognized as an Associate Master Clinician by the Naval Medical Center, San Diego. Until her recent change of station to Okinawa, Dr. Cazares served as Associate Director for Mental Health at the Naval Medical Center, San Diego, and she was the inaugural chair of the Women's Health Clinical Community for Navy Medicine. This has evolved under her leadership into the Female Force Readiness Clinical Community. She also led the creation of the Comprehensive Women's Health Clinic Pilot, the first of its kind within the Department of Defense, to focus multidisciplinary care on the needs of active duty service women. Retired Army Colonel John Farley, MD, class of 1990. Dr. Farley was recently named one of Arizona's top docs by Phoenix Magazine. Retired Army Colonel Dr. John Farley is a gynecologic oncologist, and he's the academic chair of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the Center for Women's Health at Dignity Health St. Joseph's Hospital and Medical Center in Phoenix, Arizona. He holds dual appointments as professor at Creighton University School of Medicine, Phoenix Regional Campus, and at the University of Arizona College of Medicine. Dr. Farley served for more than 21 years on active duty in the Army, including deployments to Bagram, Afghanistan, and he was awarded the Bronze Star Medal in 2005. His last Army assignment before retirement was as professor in USU's Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Dr. Farley is a member of the American Association of Cancer Research, the Society of Gynecologic Oncologists, the American Society of Clinical Oncology, and he's a fellow of the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Dr. Farley also sits on the Society of GYN Oncology's Diversity and Inclusion Task Force and its Task Force on Racial Disparities. Retired Army Colonel James Fickey, class of 1987. Dr. Fickey is the Robert A. Robinson Professor of Orthopedic Surgery, and he's the chair of the Department of Orthopedic Surgery at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, and he's orthopedist in chief at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. Dr. Fickey is nationally renowned as an expert on the treatment of amputees, of patients with lower extremity trauma, and of complex foot and ankle problems. Prior to his retirement from the Army, Dr. Fickey was chair of the Department of Orthopedics and Rehabilitation at the San Antonio Military Medical Center, and he also served for 7 years as the senior advisor to the Army Surgeon General for orthopedics and extremity injuries. During his deployment from 2004 and 5, he was deputy commander of clinical services at the 228th Combat Support Hospital in Mosul, Iraq, and he was the senior orthopedic surgeon treating more than 600 U.S. soldiers and Iraqi patients for their war injuries. Dr. Fickey is a recipient of the Brian Allwood Award for Career Leadership from the Society of Military Orthopedic Surgeons, of the Louis Aspey Malone Award from the U.S. Army Surgeon General, and also from the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine Award for Advancement of Women in Science and Medicine. Since retiring in 2013, Dr. Fickey's continued to advocate for advances in research of combat-related extremity injuries of our soldiers and our veterans. Great photo. Dr. Thomas Geisbert, PhD, class of 2003. Dr. Thomas Geisbert has more than 30 years of experience working with biosafety level 4 containment. His research focuses on emerging viruses with a particular emphasis on those viruses causing hemorrhagic fever, including Ebola, Marburg virus, Lassa virus. He co-discovered the Reston species of Ebola virus in 1989, and this work was the subject of many articles in the scientific literature and in the popular press, as well as in Richard Preston's best-selling novel, The Hot Zone. Dr. Geisbert holds 5 U.S. patents on filovirus vaccines and treatments. He played a major role in the development of the first Ebola virus vaccine, licensed for human use. He was among the dedicated group of Ebola fighters named collectively as Time Magazine's Person of the Year for 2014. Dr. Geisbert is the author or co-author of more than 225 original articles, book chapters, including articles in Nature, the New England Journal, Science Translational Medicine, and in The Lancet. He is now professor of microbiology and immunology at the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston and at the Galveston National Laboratory. And he's actively studying right now the acute severe respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, which is causing the coronavirus 19 pandemic. Retired Army Colonel Russ Coatwall, MD, class of 1996. Dr. Russ Coatwall spent nearly 30 years in the military and more than 15 in operational assignments with the 25th Infantry Division, the 75th Ranger Regiment, and the U.S. Army Special Operations Command. Dr. Coatwall deployed to combat 12 times with the Rangers, 9 times to Afghanistan and 3 to Iraq. He has conducted hundreds of combat ground and air missions as the senior medical provider and has been highly decorated, including 5 Bronze Star medals, 2 Service Commendation Medals for Valor, and 2 Combat Jump Stars, among many others. Dr. Coatwall is also a master parachutist and master flight surgeon, and he's Ranger qualified. He is credited with numerous novel training and technology initiatives, professional publications, national, international presentations related primarily to pre-hospital medicine on the battlefield. Dr. Coatwall is adjunct professor for both the Texas A&M Health Science Center and for the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences. Dr. Coatwall has been an advisor to the U.S. Department of Defense Joint Trauma System, the Committee on Tactical Combat Casualty Care, as well as the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. He is a fellow of the American Academy of Family Physicians, a Hero of Military Medicine Award recipient, a distinguished member of the 75th Ranger Regiment, and an inductee into the U.S. Army Ranger Hall of Fame. Retired Colonel Robert Mabry, U.S. Army, MD, class of 1999. Retired Army Colonel Robert Mabry is certified in emergency medicine and in emergency medical services. Dr. Mabry served as the command surgeon for the Joint Special Operations Command. And from 2015 to 16, he was the Robert Woods Johnson Health Policy Fellow, serving with House of Representatives Committee on Energy and Commerce. As an Army doctor, Dr. Mabry contributed to the development of the Combat Application Tourniquet. He brought about landmark changes in the Army Combat Lifesaver Program, and he was at the forefront of advancing our understanding and treatment of combat airway injuries. At Fort Sam Houston, Texas, Dr. Mabry was the program director for Military Emergency Medical Services and the Disaster Medicine Fellowship, the largest emergency medicine fellowship in the nation. And he was the director of trauma care delivery for the Department of Defense Trauma Center of Excellence. Dr. Mabry deployed overseas multiple times, participated in combat operations as the senior search and rescue medic with Task Force Ranger in Mogadishu, Somalia, during the Black Hawk Down battle of 1993, and as a Special Forces Battalion surgeon during Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan in 2005, and as the Joint Theater Trauma System Pre-Hospital Medical Director, again in Afghanistan in 2010. Dr. Mabry served as the president of Special Operations Medical Association, and he is a founding member of the Committee on Tactical Combat Casualty Care. He is a diplomate of the American Board of Emergency Medicine. Army Colonel Drew Morgan, MD, U.S. Army, class of 2002. Colonel Dr. Morgan is an emergency and sports medicine physician who served most of his career with Army Special Forces. Colonel Morgan was one of only 8 applicants nationwide selected from a pool of more than 6,100 for NASA's 2013 astronaut class, and was the first USU alumnus to be chosen. He served as the flight engineer on the International Space Station for Expedition 60, 61, 62 from 2019 through April 2020. He also conducted 7 spacewalks, totaling 45 hours and 48 minutes, 4 of which were to improve and extend the life of the station's alpha magnetic spectrometer as it looks for evidence of dark matter in the universe. His extended stay in space will increase our knowledge about how the human body responds to longer duration spaceflight through the various investigations he supported. His flight time spanned a total of 4,352 Earth orbits and a journey of 115.3 million miles. Army Colonel Clinton Murray, U.S. Army, class of 1996. Colonel Dr. Clint Murray is currently the commander of the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. He previously served as the United States Forces Korea Combined Forces Command and the United Nations Command Surgeon, commander of the 1st Area Medical Laboratory, the Army's only operational deployable laboratory for theater-level validation of chemical, biologic, radiologic, and nuclear agents. He did this from 2017 to 19. And he was the Deputy Corps Chief for the Medical Corps and the Medical Corps Specific Branch Proponency Officer from 2015 to 2017. Dr. Murray's clinical and academic leadership positions include Chief of Infectious Disease Service at Brooke Army Medical Center from 2011 to 15, and he was the Program Director for the Combined Army and Air Force ID Fellowship in San Antonio from 2005 to 2012. He deployed as the Senior Medical Officer of a medical company, 1st Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division, to Ramadi, Iraq from 2003 and 4, under the 82nd Airborne Division for 6 months, and also for the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force for the second 6 months. Dr. Murray deployed in 2012 for an infectious control and ID review of more than 20 U.S. coalition and Afghani medical treatment facilities. And the following year, he worked with the NATO training mission Afghanistan, assisting the establishment of the infectious disease preventive medicine residency program of the Afghan National Army in Kabul. He returned from Afghanistan in 2015 with the Expeditionary Surgical Assessment Team, supporting the Special Operations Command review of the Golden Hour surgical capability. He performed research and teaching across Africa, Asia, and Europe, South and Central America. He was the ID consultant to the U.S. Army Surgeon General from 2016 to 2020. And Dr. Murray is professor of medicine at the Uniformed Services University, a fellow of the Infectious Disease Society of America, and a master of the American College of Physicians. Public Health Service Captain Sarah Newman, Doctor of Public Health, USU, class of 2002. Dr. Sarah Newman serves as the Director of the Office of Public Health for the National Park Service, where she's the principal advisor to the Director and Executive Leadership of the National Park Service for public health decisions affecting 300 million visitors to 409 parks nationwide. Captain Newman also serves as the commanding officer to all PHS Commissioned Corps officers assigned to the Department of the Interior. She's a mentor to officers and students, and she started an internship program at the National Park Service to train and place students in public health positions nationwide. She previously served as the Deputy Chief of the Office of Risk Management and Program Manager of the Public Risk Management Program with the Park Service. And she serves as the Special Projects Advisor to the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Public Health Emergency Medical Countermeasures in the Office of Public Health Emergency Preparedness at the Department of Health and Human Services. Dr. Newman has served as the chair of the Board of Directors of the Commissioned Officers Association of the U.S. Public Health Service, as chair of the Scientific Advisory Committee, command staff on the Public Health Service Rapid Deployment Team, and as co-founder and chair of the Commissioned Corps Epidemiology Interest Group, and as chair of the Injury Section of the American Public Health Association. Retired Israeli Defense Forces Dr. Colonel Kobi Peleg, MPH, PhD in preventive medicine at USIS in 1992. Dr. Kobi Peleg is a world-renowned expert in emergency and disaster medicine. He has served as deputy commander of the Israeli Defense Forces Field Hospital during the Armenian earthquake in 1988, and he later directed the medicine branch of Israel's Home Front Command during the Gulf War in 1991. In 1997, Dr. Peleg was the senior consultant to Israel's Minister of Health, and he was subsequently commanded the Israeli Defense Forces Military Medical Academy, while concurrently managing numerous mass casualty incidents throughout Israel. Dr. Peleg has supported, led, or coordinated Israeli Defense Forces or United Nations disaster assessment and coordination responses to several major disasters, including the Rwanda genocide in 1995, the West Sumatra earthquake in 2009, the Haiti earthquake of 2010, Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, and the 2015 Nepal earthquake. Dr. Peleg is an accomplished educator and researcher, and he's published more than 160 papers on disaster management, terrorism, and injury epidemiology. He founded the National Center for Trauma and Emergency Medicine Research at Israel's Gertner Institute, and also of the Department of Defense Disaster Medicine and Injury Prevention Program at the Tel Aviv University. Retired Air Force Colonel Andrew Satin, MD, class of 1986. Dr. Andrew Satin is the Dorothy Edwards Professor and Director of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. He's the obstetrician-in-chief at the Johns Hopkins Hospital and Director of Gynecology and Obstetrics for Johns Hopkins Medicine. Dr. Satin is president of the American Board of Obstetrics and Gynecology and a member of the Board of Directors of the Society of Maternal Fetal Medicine. He served as the chair on the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology's committees on practice bulletins and clinical document review. While on active duty, Dr. Satin served as chair of USU's Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and he was the first USU alumnus selected to serve as an academic chair of a department at USU. Prior to that, Dr. Satin served as the OBGYN residency program director and he led the program to full accreditation for the maximum possible lengths of 5 years. Dr. Satton's board certified in maternal fetal medicine and in obstetrics and gynecology, and he's a nationally recognized expert in labor simulation and labor management. Retired Army Colonel Bruce Schoenebaum, PhD, class of 2000. Dr. Bruce Schoenebaum is the Associate Dean for Practice, Innovation, and Leadership at Johns Hopkins University School of Nursing. He's the first person to hold the position. He served previously as the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at USU's Daniel K. Inouye Graduate School of Nursing, where he was responsible for curriculum design and promoting faculty enrichment for all Graduate School of Nursing master's and doctoral programs. And he was instrumental in transforming the GSN's master's programs into a doctorate of nursing practice, a new national standard and a mandate for advanced practice nursing. While on an active duty, he was deployed to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in 2006, serving as the detachment commander for the 14th Combat Support Hospital located at Forward Operating Base Salerno. Dr. Schoenebaum later commanded the Army Medical Research Institute for Chemical Defense at Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Maryland. And after retiring, he served as the Senior Director for Educational and Professional Development and later as the Chief Learning Officer for the American Association of Nurse Anesthetists. Dr. Schoenebaum was recognized nationally as a distinguished practitioner in the National Academy of Advanced Practice Nursing, an organization representing 10 different healthcare professions, and he is a fellow of the American Academy of Nursing. In 2012, he received the John F. Gard Researcher of the Year Award from the American Association of Nurse Anesthetists Foundation. Dr. Schoenebaum is a member of several professional organizations, including the American Academy of Nursing, where he serves on the expert panel for Military and Veterans Affairs. And he served as the military representative on the NIH National Advisory Council for Nursing Research. And he's now on the National Advisory Council for Nursing Education and Practice and the Health and Human Services Interagency Pain Management Best Practices Task Force. Retired Public Health Service Captain Kevin Yeske, MD, class of 1983. Dr. Kevin Yeske is the former Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary to the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response at the Department of Health and Human Services. And as such, his office was responsible for leading the nation in preventing, responding to, and recovering from adverse health effects of man-made and naturally occurring disasters and public health emergencies. Dr. Yeske retired from the Public Health Service in 2003 after spending more than 24 years on active duty. During that time, Dr. Yeske held a number of key disaster response positions, including serving as the director for USU's Center for Disaster and Humanitarian Assistance Medicine, and as associate professor and vice chair of USU's Department of Military and Emergency Medicine. Dr. Yeske was a member of the HHS Disaster Medical Assistance Team of the National Disaster Medical System, serving as team commander from 1993 to 1999. And he was largely responsible for the medical response efforts for the Albanian refugee resettlement in the late 1990s. Dr. Yeske was the chief medical officer of the National Disaster Medical System Program and the chief medical officer for the Public Health Service Office of Emergency Preparedness. He also served as the medical policy advisor to FEMA operations. Dr. Yeske has worked for the Center of Disease Control and Prevention as the director of bioterrorism preparedness and response program of the National Center for Infectious Disease. And he was the deputy director of emergency public health in the Division of Emergency and Environmental Health Services in the National Center for Environmental Health of the Center for Disease Control. From 2007 to 2012, Dr. Yeske was the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response and the Director of the Office of Preparedness and Emergency Operations in the Department of Health and Human Services. Well, we would like to thank the members of the selection committee who worked under Dr. Rice, whose names are listed below in the screen, for their work in selecting these 13 USU alums to be recognized this year. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a brief round of applause for all of our honorees today. Thank you, and I would now like to turn the microphone over to Dr. Arthur Kellerman, the former Dean of America's Medical School. Dr. Kellerman.
Thank you, Dr. Pangaro. Students, staff, faculty, military health system leaders, and all who are watching this program today. If you ever wonder why the Department of Defense needs a leadership academy for military health, I offer you 13 compelling reasons. In the years to come, we will add to the number of distinguished alumni year per year because we create change agents, not only for military health and for the public health service, but for American medicine and for global health. For the last 7 years, I've had the singular honor to serve as Dean of America's Medical School. I know that students who are there today in our medical and our graduate programs, as well as in our graduate schools of nursing, postgraduate dental college, and College of Allied Health, will make their own impact in science, in education, in field practice, in innovation, and in leadership. So I want to thank all of you for being a part of this and for allowing me to be a part of your community for the last 7 years. At this point, before we conclude, we'd like to welcome one of today's distinguished honorees, Colonel Drew Morgan, to speak of his experience and to address all of you. Drew, you're on.
Thank you, sir. And thank you to the distinguished guests that are joining us today. I was able to review the list of potential guests, and I was just in awe. It was a veritable who's who of the heroes of military and federal medicine. I am completely humbled to be named to this list of such accomplished company. I've read every impressive bio, and I know many of them personally, served with a few, and some, like Bob and Russ, I've looked to for years, just trying to emulate even a small piece of their careers. And you all represent the best of public service. You embody everything this institution stands for, an institution built to teach young men and women to care for those in harm's way. This time last year, I was in the first quarter of my 9-month deployment to the International Space Station. And one of my first and most memorable onboard public events was with the USU community. And I will never forget the roar of the crowd gathered in Sanford Auditorium when we connected over a space to ground communications link. And I was orbiting over the Earth at over 17,000 miles per hour. I was never prouder to be an alumni of our one-of-a-kind university as I was in that moment. USU is one of our country's greatest academic institutions and the center of excellence for academic, military, and federal medicine. It has earned its stripes as America's medical school many times over. Deeply embedded in USU's DNA is a culture of service above self. Service to your country, service to your patients, and service to your profession. And by virtue of the values our alma mater instills, our graduates rise to be leaders in their fields, and leaders in their uniformed service, and leaders in medicine, and leaders in the nation. Today, we recognize just a sampling of many, many more equally accomplished alumni. To the distinguished guests, MHS leaders, Dr. Thomas, the Board of Regents, on behalf of myself and my fellow award recipients, thank you for this opportunity to represent USU School of Medicine on the Earth and off the Earth.
Drew, thank you very, very much for your comments, and congratulations for this award and for everything you've done during your career to date. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us. This has really just been a wonderful ceremony to recognize a few of the many distinguished alumni produced by Uniformed Services University. We hope that all of you will continue to participate in our Founders Day events. The next event will occur at 1 p.m. and is our President's Leadership Panel. It will include two of the distinguished alumni just honored, Dr. Tom Geisbert and Dr. Russ Cotwall. In addition, Major General Toledo Crossland, the Army Medical Corps Chief, as well as Rear Admiral Cynthia Kuhner will also be presenting at the leadership panel. At 2:30, we'll be very happy to welcome Ambassador Deborah Birx, who will be our guest speaker for our Founders Day ceremony. So with that, thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you all at 1 p.m. Take care.